Good morning, students. Let us begin today's chapter 2.2, the three questions. A very interesting story by a Russian writer, Leo Tolstoy. Okay, and he has written it. It is a parable. Okay, so what is a parable? Parable is a short story with a moral lesson. Usually, parable has human characters. And parable, this particular parable, the three questions, is talking about a king. Okay, this is a story about a king. And this is the king who wants to find answers to what he considers to be the three most important questions in life. So friends, we may have students, we have many questions in life. Okay, and we keep asking questions. But here this is a story about a king who wants to know the answers to the three most important questions in life. So let us see what are these three important questions. So in between, if you do not understand the meaning of any word, you may please underline, okay, and note it down. I will go on explaining in between the meanings to the difficult words and go with the flow of the story. Yes, Kashish, read.
Yes, ma'am. The three questions. Leo Tolstoy, 1828 to 1910, was a Russian writer who is regarded as one of the greatest authors of all time. He first achieved literary acclaim in his 20s with his semi-autobiographical trilogy Childhood, Boyhood, and Youth. A parable is a short story with a moral lesson. A parable usually has human character. This parable concerns a king who wants to find the answers to what he considers to be the three most important questions in life. Ma'am, lesson B. Can I continue with lesson?
Yes, please go ahead.
Once a certain king had an idea. If he always knew the
It
right
is
time to begin everything.
1 second, read carefully. Once a certain king had an idea. Okay, so you say an, A-N. Why? Because the next word is starting with a vowel, I. Okay, so
Yes.
these are called articles. So when we are reading, we are not only understanding the story, we are also learning new words, vocabulary, and third thing, we are also paying attention to the grammatical aspects. Okay, yes, Kashish,
Yes,
go
ma'am.
ahead.
If he always knew the right time to begin everything. If he knew who were the right people to listen to and who to avoid, the most important thing to do. He would never fail in anything that he would undertake, and above all, if he always knew what was the most undertake, since he was convinced that he was right in thinking this way. He had proclamation made in his kingdom. He would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him what the right time was for every action, who the most necessary people were, and how he might know the most important thing to do.
Okay, so now the story goes, there is a king, okay, a certain king, a particular king. Now it is not mentioned, the name and all, not important. So there was a king and he wanted to know three things. First thing, what is the right time to begin everything? What is the right time to start something? Second thing, he wanted to know who are the right people whom he should listen to and whom he should avoid. And the third thing, what is the most important thing he should do? If he knows these three things, correct, he will never fail in anything. Okay. So what did he do? He thought, let me get the answers to these three questions. He was so convinced, so sure that if he knows these three things, no, he will be very well in his thinking. He can rule his country properly. So he made an official announcement. Correct? He will give a big reward, great reward to anyone who will teach him what was the right time for every action. Second, who was the most necessary people, and third, How he will know what is the most important thing to do? Continue.
Many learned people came to the court, but they all gave different answers. In reply to the first question, some said that to know the right time for every action, one must draw up in advance a table of days, months, and years, and must live strictly according to it. Others declared that it was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action, but that not letting not letting oneself be absorbed in idle pastimes. One should always attend to all that was going on and then to that was most essential. Yet others said that it was impossible for one man to decide correctly the right time for every action, and that the king should instead have a council of wise people who would help him to fix the proper time for everything. Equally varied were the answers to the second questions. Some said the people the king most needed were his counselors, others the
Priest.
others priests, others the doctors, while some said the warriors were the most necessary.
Okay, thank you, Kashish, for reading. And now I will unmute. Um, Kashish, you can lower your hand now. I will, Satyam. Okay, you can read
Yes,
Satyam.
teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
Satyam, begin.
Yes, teacher. But the voice was breaking. I was not able to understand where
Are
it
you
was.
okay
He
now?
was
Can
reading.
you see on the screen? We are reading 53 page number.
Yes, teacher. Page number I have opened, but line I don't know.
You have to begin to the third question.
Okay, teacher. To the third question about what was the most important occupation, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. Others said it was skill in warfare, and others again it was religious worship. The king was convinced by none of these answers and gave the reward to none. He decided instead to go to a hermit who was widely renowned for his wisdom.
Hold on.
The hermit lived
So,
in a
one
small hut
second,
in a
Satyam.
forest.
Hold on, Satyam. Hold on. So he decided instead to
Yes,
go to a hermit. So whatever answers his people gave, he was not satisfied. Okay. And so he thought he will go to a hermit. Please underline Hermit, hermit. So who is a hermit? A sage. Okay. A seeker. Correct. So he said, let me go to a hermit. In Hindi, you call him a sadhu Maharaj. Correct. जो क्या करते हैं meditation करते रहते हैं, and he was widely renowned. So please underline this word renowned over here. So renowned is famous for his wisdom. So he thought, let me go to a hermit. Yes, for all the answers. Continue, please.
small hut in a forest where he never left. He spoke only to common folk. So the
Okay, so
king
folk
put
is
on
people. Underline folk. Folk is people. So this hermit had a quality that he would only talk to the common people and he would live in a small hut. Yes.
so the king put on simple clothes and approached the hermit's cell, dismounted his horse, and left his bodyguard behind.
Hold on.
When the
So
king arrived,
dismounted. Satyam, you will have to hold on in between so that I can explain the words. So when you say dismounted, mounted is to climb. So when you dismount, you come down, climb down the horse. Okay. Now this is called as a prefix. Okay. Prefix which helps us most of the time to make verbs or make antonyms. Antonyms are opposite words. So if it is mount, antonym will be dismount. Okay. Yeah. Please continue.
so when the king arrived, the hermit was digging the ground in the front of his hut. He greeted the king, but went on digging. The hermit was frail and weak, and each time he struck the ground with the spade and turned over a little earth, he breathed heavily. The king went up to him and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer three questions. How can I learn to do the right things at the right time? Who are the people I most need, and whom should I therefore pay most attention? And what affairs are the most important and need my first attention? The hermit listened to the king but said nothing. He just spat on his hand and resumed digging. The king watched and in silence for a while. Then, feeling sorry for Hermit, he said, You are tired. Let me take the spade and work a while for you. The hermit silently handed over the spade and sat down on the ground. When he had dug two beds, when he had dug two beds, the king stopped and repeated his question. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose, stretched out his hands for the spade, and said, Now rest a while and let me work a bit. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed. 1 hour passed in another. The sun began to sink behind the trees, and the king at last stuck the spade into ground and said, I came to you, wise one, for an answer to my question. If you can give me none, please say so. I will go home. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. Let us see who it is. The king turned around and saw a brilliant man come running out of the forest. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground, moaning feebly. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. There was a large wound in his stomach.
Okay, hold on 1 minute. Satyam, thank you so much for reading. Now I will unmute Muskan. Okay, and thank you for reading, Satyam. You can lower your hand, and I will unmute Muskan to read the story, and let us see what the story is. So we saw that the king of a certain kingdom wanted to know the answers. Okay, and so what did he do? Three questions he wanted to know. So what are the three questions the king wanted to know? So first thing, please pay attention. He felt that if he knew the answers of these three questions, it would become very easy for him. Correct, to rule. Everything will be very easy for him. So what were the three questions? The first question was, how could he learn to do right thing at the right time? Okay, so what was the right time to do the right thing? Second question he wanted to know what was, who were the people he needed the most? Who are the necessary people? And the third is, whom should he pay most attention to? Okay, so which affairs are most important and where he should pay most attention to. So what happened when he made a big proclamation, a declaration, announcement, many people came, gave answers, but he was not satisfied. So he decided he will go to a hermit, a sage, okay, who lived in a simple hut. So he dressed like a simple man. King dressed up like a simple man and went to the hermit and asked the three questions. Hermit listened to the questions of the king but did not reply anything. He was just sitting there and digging something. So king watched for the silence, and then he asked the hermit that let me help you with the work. Correct? Let me help you dig something. He was digging with a spade. So the king started doing the work and he repeated the question. But again, hermit did not answer. And then king went on doing the work and he had dug two beds. Now, the hermit, said to the king that let me work. You are tired. Okay. Now 1 hour passed and it was almost evening. Okay. Now the king got tired and he kept the spade down and he once again asked the hermit that please reply to my questions. And as he was saying this, Correct? He says that if you don't have answers, you tell me, that I will not give you answers. You are quiet, so I don't know. So if you don't have answers, you tell me no, so that I can return back home. And moment he said that, there was somebody who was coming running over there. Okay, so both of them went and saw who was there. So there was a bearded man with a beard, who was running out of the forest. And what was his condition? Someone had stabbed him. Okay, so there was blood coming out, flowing out from his stomach. Okay, and when he reached the king and the hermit, he fainted there. He lost his consciousness and he fell down. Okay, now ahead. So the king and the hermit unfastened his clothing, and there was a big wound. W-O-U-N-D. Wound is a hurt, ghav, in his stomach. So the king washed it, correct, as well as he could. He bandaged it with his handkerchief and a towel, correct, the hermit gave him, and the blood would not stop. So what did king do? Again and again he would go on soaking the bandages, correct, with the warm blood, washing it and rebandaging. So he was nursing the wound. And finally, at last, the blood stopped and the man revived. Means he came back to consciousness. And then king gave him some water to drink. Okay. Yes. Muskan, continue. Muskan, I will unmute you. 1 second. Yes. Continue, Muskan.
The king watched it.
From here, meanwhile, the sun had set.
Meanwhile, the sun had set and it had become cool. So the king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut. The man lay there quietly with his eyes closed. But now the king was so tired after his walk and the work he had done that he lay down himself and also fell asleep. When he awoke in the morning, it took him some time to remember where he was and who was the strange bearded man lying by his side and gazing intently at him. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice. When he saw that the king was awoke and was looking at him, "I do not know you, and I have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. "You do not know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who swore to revenge himself on you because you executed his brother and seized his property. I knew you had gone alone to see the hermit and resolved to kill you on your way back, but they passed and you did not return. So I came out of my ambush to find you. Your bodyguard recognized me and wounded me. I escaped from them, but would have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. I wished to kill you, but you have saved my life. Now, if I leave and if you wish it, I will serve you all my life."
Okay. So who is this wounded man? So when they wake up in the morning, the king finds that wounded man is looking at the king, gazing at him intently. So king asks that, okay, and when the king wakes up, the wounded man, correct, tells him that, please forgive me, correct? And king says, I don't know. Why should I mean, how? I have nothing to forgive you for. Why should I forgive you for? And the wounded man says, the bearded man says that, you don't know me, the king, but I know you. I am your enemy. And I had sworn, I had said, declared that I will take revenge because you had executed, you had killed my brother and you had taken away his property. Correct? And I knew that you have come alone to the hermit's hut. So I decided that I will come and kill you. Correct? And whole day passed and you did not return. So I came out from my hiding place and I was about to attack on you. But what happened? Your bodyguards recognized me and they have wounded me. So when I ran from your bodyguards and I was coming, you have dressed my wounds, you have saved my life. So all my life, correct, I will serve you. Yes, next.
The king was very glad to have a peace with an enemy so easily and have to gain him for a friend. He not only forgave him but said he would send his men and his own physicians to attend him. The king then took leave of him and went out of the hut to look for the hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to beg for an answer to the question he had asked. The hermit was outside on his knee sowing seed in the bed that had been dug the day before. The
Okay,
king
hold on, Muskan. Anand has also raised hand. Anand Shukla. Thank you, Muskan, for reading. Anand, I will unmute you so you can read. Anand Shukla. So let me continue the story. So king was very happy that his enemy has become his friend. Rather, he's ready to serve him and so easily. No, he just helped him. He saw a wounded man in need, helped the wounded man, and this wounded man has become his friend now. Correct? So he's very happy. And then he wakes up and he goes to he said, let me go and, ask the answers to the question he had come here for. So he went to look out for the hermit. Now, where was hermit? He was outside and again he was sowing seeds. Yesterday he has dug the beds and now he was sowing the seeds. So king approached him and said, for the last time, I pray you, pray here means request you to answer my questions, wise man. So the hermit says, you have already answered, said the hermit, still crouching crouching is bending down, sitting on his thin legs and looking up at the king who stood before him. Yes, read please.
What do you mean? Asked the king. Do you not see? Replied the hermit. If you don't not pitied by weak yesterday and stayed to dig these beds for me, you would have gone back and been killed by that man. So that most important time was when you were digging the beds, and I was the most important man, and to do me good most was your most important business. Afterward, the most important time was when you were attending to that man for time was when you were sorry, if you don't know bond his wound, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. Remember, then there is only one time that is important now. It is the most important time because it's the only time when we have any power. The most necessary person is one with whom you are, for you do not know whether you will ever have dealing with anyone else, and the most important thing is to do this person good, because for the purpose alone were you sent into this life.
Thank you, Anand Shukla, for reading. So, the hermit said, you have already got your answers. Now, king was surprised. Did I get the answers? So, now the hermit is explaining. See, your first question was, now, what is my right time? What is the right work? Right time to do the work? Who is the right person? Correct? Who is the most necessary person? What is the right time to do? Correct? And what is the right thing to do? So Hermit explains that the most important time was when you were digging the beds, because you felt pity on me that he's an old man and he's doing. So you started doing that work, and whole day you were doing the work. So you did not go back. So since you did not go back, you were on that important business of helping me. Correct? You did not go back, and so you were not killed by that enemy. Now, when that enemy came here and you started, that wounded man, bearded man, and you started helping him, serving him, attending to his wounds, binding his wounds, putting bandages on him, you became, he became your, he was ready to serve you. He lost his desire of becoming an enemy and taking revenge. He made peace with you. Correct? So he was the most important man. And what you did to him was your most important business. Now, what is the most important time? Most important time is now. Now. So now for you students, what is the most important time? Paying attention here. When you are on this lecture, online class, the most important time is to pay attention here. Okay. So I will recreate this. It is the most important time because it is the only time we have power. You will say, I will do tomorrow. You never know what happens tomorrow. And you cannot do anything in the past. So what is the most important time? Now. Okay. Most necessary person is the one with whom you are. Okay. So I am with you now. So you students are most important people for me now. Okay. And for you, do not know whether you will ever have dealings with anyone else. And what is the most important thing to do? Most important thing to do is do good to the person. Because we are born into this life, we have come on this earth just to do good things. Okay. So this is the beautiful story. Here we come to an end of the story about the king. Okay. Let us quickly go through the English workshop. And yeah, you have to read the story and say whether it is true or false. The people convinced the king to make a proclamation. The people convinced the king. So did people ask the king to make proclamation? True or false? So it is false. The king did the proclamation. Yes, thank you for putting the answers in the chat box. Hermit usually spoke to everyone. Did he speak to everyone? No, he only spoke to the, yes, there was there. No? That's why he lived in a hut. Now this was the hermit, correct? Who was famous for his wisdom. He lived in a hut and he never left that hut. He spoke only to the common people. He did not speak to everyone. Okay, so even again this is false. Very good for giving the correct answers. Asta has given the right answer. Okay, the king received all answers from the hermit. Yes, the person the king saved and helped was his enemy. True. To do good to the people is the purpose of our life. True. Okay. So now you have to give the titles and the paragraphs. What is there? Paragraph is given and the content is given, or you can say the summary is given. So you have to match it. I suppose you can do this. The next is the character traits of the king and the hermit are mixed up. Character traits means qualities. So who was feeble? The king was weak or the hermit? So it was hermit who was the feeble. Feeble means weak. Okay, old and weak. So this is quality of hermit. So this is how you have to write down in your book. Okay, so hermit was feeble. Then who was helpful? So the king was helpful. No, he asked. He waited there in the hut to help the hermit. So king was helpful. Who was enlightened? Yes, it was the hermit who was the enlightened. Who was impatient? King was impatient because he wanted to get the answers very fast. Okay, so this is how you are going to write the answers. I'm not doing all with you. I'm sure you will read the lesson again. Go through those who are watching me on YouTube will go through the lesson again. Okay, and you can do it on your own. In our next class, we are going to discuss this. Okay, and these are the diagrams. Where tree diagram, which is telling you what happened in the story, the sequence. So first, what were the three questions of the king? Second, what were the different responses the people gave? Okay, and then most necessary people needed by the king, most different responses he got, then most important occupation. These are the answers which the people gave. Okay, that flow chart is prepared here. This what you can see here is called a flow chart, okay, or a tree diagram. Okay, So there are different topics are given up and you have to complete the tree diagram over there. Okay. Correct alternatives you can do with the spellings. Varied is what? Different. Okay. Synonyms are there to use a dictionary and complete it. And if you have any questions, we are going to do it in our next class. Okay, students. So I hope you have got the story, not only gotten the story, but also understood and learned some new words and new values. Okay, so please read the lesson again, because reading is the best form of learning. When you read, you also understand the grammar, the sentence structure, the tenses, and also the meanings. And of course, you will enjoy the story again. Okay, so I hope you have understood the story. Do read the lesson. If you have any difficult words, please go through the dictionary and find the meanings. And we are going to discuss the question answers textual. If you have any difficulties in getting the answers or you want to discuss, we will be doing it in our next class. Okay.